Boosed contains adult themes and language. Listener beware. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boosed, where we get supernatural and shit-faced. I am your host, Camille Monae, and I'm joined with my co-host.
I am your co-host, Sydnee Johnson, and I'm happy to be back and to be here.
Thank you, Sydnee. And we are happy to have you back, dear listener, for another episode. We appreciate all of the support. And before we jump into too much of this episode this week, just a gentle reminder, if you would please take time to give us a review on Apple Podcasts. A written review, some 5 stars would go a long way. It's been a while since we've had a review. We need some fresh ones, some fresh blood in the water. That's a bad metaphor, right? That's not good. Some fresh
blood.
I don't know if I want that kind of violent imagery associated with leaving us a good review.
Some fresh reviews, some fresh tomatoes out of the ground.
Okay, sure.
Is that better?
We'll do that.
Okay.
We'll take it. That's a win. Yeah. And don't forget, you can always follow us at Boosed Pod on all social media. Like, subscribe, share with a friend, share with an enemy if you don't like the show that much, or if you know they'll hate it. You love it, but you'll know they hate it. Just trick them into listening to an episode or two.
Glitter bomb them with our episode.
I like that. Mm-hmm. Yes, I hate glitter. And so the idea of glitter bombing your enemies appeals to me on a deep, deep level.
It does.
It's like the perfect crime.
It's very cruel, but you should definitely do it with our podcast.
Yes, glitter bomb people with our podcast. Absolutely. And you can also support the podcast through patreon.com/boostpod. Our subscription levels start at $2 per month. You get some extra videos, some extra photos, a little extra content here and there. And we always appreciate the support. Or you can make a one-time donation. We're now on Venmo. So if you would like to make a one-time donation through Venmo, feel free to do so. It's at BoostPod, because branding, #branding, always important. Get in there. And speaking of branding, I actually finally was able to get my personal TikTok back.
Finally.
It took me finding my old cell phone and then using the old cell phone to log in and then changing the settings.
Wow.
And updating. Yeah, it was a process. I don't know why I did it, because I'm really not going to use.
You did it because there can only be one.
There can only be one.
Monae.
I'm like the Highlander. I have to chop off the heads of all others.
You're the one getting violent, so now we're chopping off heads.
I mean, it's social media.
Blood in the water.
Now there's blood. See, now it all ties back. So now it's okay.
Okay.
Now it's okay. But we do have a TikTok for the podcast at BoostPod on TikTok, and there's some clips there. If you feel compelled to make a video with them, sure. I don't know how that works.
If you guys want to take some of our audio of any of the funny and cool things that we say, that's totally cool to Gen Z, just take it, put it underneath your videos. That would be really cool.
We are such millennials. Oh my gosh.
I know.
That was really difficult. How are you doing this week? Millennial Sydnee. Happy Valentine's Day. It's Valentine's Day for us.
It's Valentine's Day for us. Happy Valentine's Day to you as well. I'm doing good. I had a good day. I got a little workout in. I played in the snow for a little bit. It's also snowing very hard in Dallas. For all of our Dallas listeners, I hope you're safe and warm.
Wow.
But yeah. Had a nice meal, and it was a good day.
Good. I love that it's snowing there. The first time I ever saw and or experienced snow was Valentine's Day 2004. And it was the first year that I lived in Dallas, Fort Worth. I was living on campus at UTA, University of Texas at Arlington. I got it right this time.
Arlington.
Yes, at Arlington. I was living in Arlington. And my friend, my roommate at the time, Keisha, she was from Chicago. And so when I woke up that morning screaming my head off and like super excited about the fact that it was snowing, she thought I was a crazy person.
She did indeed.
She did not understand why I was so excited about like the inch of snow that was on the ground. I think I videotaped it on my video recorder. That's how long ago this was. My phone couldn't even like get on the internet back then. So good times. But yeah, I find it very apropos.
That was very cute.
It's now snowing again on Valentine's Day. I don't think it snowed on Valentine's Day for a while.
No,
Probably since then.
I think so. I saw a lot of couples out, taking pictures and
Blech.
Such.
Gross.
It was cute.
Keep your love inside.
It was cute. I was happy for each and every one of them. Congratulations.
I was not. I liked all their photos on Instagram. It's fine.
How are you doing on Valentine's Day, Camille?
I am good. I am alone. Spent all day alone in my room, my little space, my studio apartment here. Valentine's Day for me is like, it's a day. My sister just sent me a text. It's like nearly midnight. And my sister just sent me a text saying Happy Valentine's Day.
Still counts.
Still counts. She made it right at the deadline. My uncle sent me one at way too early this morning, like at 8 a.m. I did not appreciate it. So it's great. I'm having a great Valentine's Day.
That's awesome. Good.
I've had better, I'll say, but
we've all had better.
This isn't the worst.
This is the COVID Valentine's Day. So
yeah, I feel like my last Valentine's Day though was identical. So it's just a sequence of singlehoodness,
which
that
is fine.
Will last into eternity at this point.
It shan't. It's just what's currently happening, and what's currently happening is great because it's the only thing that can be happening. So we embrace and accept.
Yes.
Okay.
I will work. You know what? It is now 12 a.m. I no longer have to pretend. It is now the 15th. Thank God.
Who cares?
Who cares? No one cares.
I mean, not over here. Damn.
Oh, that's right. You are. It's still Valentine's Day.
Curses.
I am in the future. Yes, finally pays off. Well,
us here in the past who are still, just lapping up the love.
Enjoy the next hour.
Happy Valentine's Day to the lovers and friends of Boosed Pod.
What are you drinking tonight, Sydnee? Are you drinking? Are you still on your cleanse?
I'm still on my cleanse. Tonight I'm having a raspberry leaf tea with a little bit of ginger in it. I felt a little indigestion earlier, so I dropped some ginger in my tea just to give it that extra kick. It's really helping, and it was really good tea. I'm on a tea kick right now. I've been drinking tea like every night. So,
like off fruit teas, or just like black tea, Earl Grey's?
No, I haven't been drinking those because I think those kind of keep me up.
Yeah.
But this raspberry leaf tea that I found, the actual name of it is Woman's Raspberry Leaf Tea. Not to be confused with Man's Raspberry Leaf Tea.
Right.
I don't know what that would taste like. But it supports the female system with a little asterisk. And I don't know what they mean by
usually
system.
That means it's not FDA certified. It's when they put the asterisks there.
Yeah, they have not been evaluated by the FDA. It is not going to treat, cure, or prevent any disease, I make it. But it was pretty tasty.
Yeah, that's that yogi tea. I recognize the packet on the video.
It's really good.
Yogi tea is good for like making health claims that have not been FDA approved.
But they have their cute little messages on
But
there.
they do have their cute messages on the tags.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
What does that one say?
Live light, travel light, spread the light, be the light.
Very lovely.
It is
That's
lovely.
nice. That is very nice.
What are you having tonight, Camille?
Well, thankfully, the drink that I was talking about in our last episode arrived, I think, like the next day after we recorded. And that is the Courage and Stone Classic Old Fashioned by, this is Aisha Tyler's brand that if you listen to the last episode, I was kind of talking about expecting to get. So this is an old fashioned cocktail mix. It's pre-mixed in the bottle. I got 2 bottles for like under $40. They're small bottles. I will say they're not like huge handles of liquor. This is like 200 milliliters, but it is 80 proof. It's 40% alcohol by volume. It is a pre-made old-fashioned mix made with rye whiskey, and it's pretty darn tasty. So Aisha Tyler's signature here on the back as I look at it.
And you said it's not on the sweeter side, right?
It is not on the sweet side. It is pre-mixed with like that, like the orange and the cherry and the bitters, but you're getting like just a very straight classic old fashioned. You're not getting something super sweet. It doesn't have like a hard bite to it. It's real smooth.
I think that was a good choice for them to not lean on the sweeter side, because then you can kind of doctor it if you'd like, probably.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So you could definitely add whatever fruit or orange peel or any other accoutrement or accents that you wish to this and kind of bring out different flavors, I believe. So it's just really, really straightforward. And I didn't intend to drink the whole bottle, but now I have.
But here we are.
It
wasn't a very big bottle, though.
It's not a huge bottle. Again, it's like 200 milliliters.
And you're a brown liquor lady, so you can handle it.
I am. And I don't have shit to do tomorrow. So there you go. And I'm not drinking out of a mason jar. So
she's not. She's having a proper cocktail. I know earlier you did have a ice. What exactly is that? A sphere? Ice sphere?
Ice sphere. It's like the circular ice molds.
Yeah.
I didn't have a second one to use, so I did have to use just like regular old ice for this one. This last drink. But yeah, for the first half of the bottle, I did have like a nice proper solid chunk of ice. I don't know. I mentioned it to my uncle and he said, well, you have to drink it out of the right glass and you have to use the right ice. And I was like, whatever.
Your uncle is right.
Whatever.
Let them teach you how to drink properly.
Listen, if liquor is dependent upon the device it's drank out of, then it's not good liquor.
What do you
mean? I'm going to say.
No.
What's the point if I have to have a specific glass to drink it out of?
Because it's the oxidation, it's the mouthfeel, it's all of that is contributed from the glass that it's in. That's why you can't just drink red wine out of anything.
I will.
And get the proper experience of red wine. Ask your uncles to teach you.
Listen,
I know that they know.
On this show, the point isn't to have an experience, it's to get shit-faced. And that is what I tend to do every time we record, with success out of a mason jar. So
that's true.
I will continue my reign as the mason jar drinking queen.
To have picklebacks, and we know this. So
we accept all kinds on Boosed Pod. That's what we're saying. It doesn't matter what kind of glass,
bougie, or ratchet. We will take all kinds.
We'll take all your stallions, all your Megs, all your Cardi B's.
Yes.
So whatever glass you're raising, we're going to raise it now and have a drink. Toast. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bink.
So, Camille,
yes.
What will we be talking about this evening?
This evening, we are going to be talking about the Bell Witch.
The Bell Witch?
Yes. See, I knew you were going to be surprised because
Ain't me surprised.
You thought we were going to be talking about something else.
I did.
And
I
we
was
were.
dropping hints that
You
we
were.
for what I thought we were going to be talking about.
Right.
But she pulled a switcheroo on me, guys.
I did. I pulled an old, what is it called? The 12th
Bait
hour,
and
11th
switch?
hour bait and switch.
Yeah.
I was going to do the original topic we talked about. And then I started looking at all the research. And then I looked at what time it was. And I realized that I didn't have enough time for all the research.
It did seem like it was going to take us pretty deep. So
it's lengthy. It's a lengthy.
Lot. It's going to be an episode we're tuning into, I think.
Eventually.
But
yes.
Yeah, eventually. But it is going to require some...
it's going to require some deciphering, some more than the day of type of research.
Yeah.
And writing. So I decided to go with the Bell Witch today, a little easier. And I feel like we haven't done a witch story in a while.
It has been a little bit.
I don't think
we've done a witch story since we were recording in your first apartment.
Yeah, about Maria and her. That was a possession, though. That was more of it was a possession by a witch.
Yeah, by a former witch. So it was more about like her now than her past life. So
yeah, so this is a little. There's some similarities, we'll say. Okay. But definitely we've not talked a lot about witches or witchcraft. So I thought it was, pretty nice, pretty good to jump into. And the Legend of the Bell Witch is one of the most popular, most known stories of a witch and or haunting in the country, according to the official Bell Witch website. I'll say that. So, so as always, I will cite all my sources on our blog at boostpod.com/blog.
Like that world's best cup of coffee.
Right. Oh, that movie is so pure and cute.
It is. So I have not heard this story. So I'm gonna not to say that the Bell Witch website is making false claims, but I have not heard this story. So
they need better advertising, is what you're saying. Yes. Okay. Well, I'll just say if you lived in Tennessee, you would know all about the Bell Witch probably, because it is allegedly taught in schools there. According to my friend who lives in Tennessee right now, her child is not learning about Black History Month, but you can apparently learn about the Bell Witch. So who knows what's happening? It's Tennessee. That's all I'm going to say. It's Tennessee. But anyway, we're not at Boosed Racism Corner just yet. Not yet. We'll get there. So John Bell moved his family from North Carolina to northern Robertson County, Tennessee, now known as Adams, Tennessee, in 1804. Bell purchased He purchased some land and a large house for his family. And over the next several years, he acquired even more land, increasing his holdings to 328 acres. Over the years, the family would become well established in their peaceful community. Now, 320 acres, that's a whole lot of fucking land.
To be full disclosure, I have never been clear on acres. So
like a lot of modern subdivisions, if you've ever been in like a newer subdivision, they tend to advertise half-acre lots, half-acre to an acre lots. So if you think about those like mini McMansions of today and multiply those by like either 328 or by 600.
So just your plot on that, like you're saying, like a mini McMansion that everybody gets the same one, and that whole subdivision is just a half acre.
Kind of. That's what some of them advertise as half acre lots tend to be, from what advertisements I hear for real estate companies. A half acre lot is very popular right now.
So we're talking, how many did you say? 300 and
328.
This is several football fields.
So an acre is equivalent to 16 tennis courts.
Whoa.
Yeah. According to what I just Googled.
I wish you guys could have seen my face go from not knowing to knowing what that meant.
An acre of land is 43,560 square feet. In a perfect square, that would be 2,000 or 208 feet on each side. 1 acre is also 4,840
like
square yards. I mean, he owns a town.
Okay.
Yeah. He owns the equivalent of a town at this point. There are actually towns today that are less than this. I mean, there are towns on the registry right now that are like 1.5 miles wide by 1.5 miles long.
I know.
He owns a town. But yeah, that's what it. Now that's what one source says. Again, I'll cite all my sources, but one source says that he ended up owning around over 300 acres at one point. Farmland, he was farming it because that's what you did back in the 1800s.
And this is all for him?
All for him. Yeah. So an acre is about, again, a football field, roughly.
300
something football fields.
I was gonna say that's more football fields than you need.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I figured finding out a football field would be more translatable given your background.
Yeah, I'm still measuring things by that, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's about 18 average sized homes, an average sized home being about 2,400 square feet. And for some reason, this website is giving me 1,584 potatoes.
Please, let's measure everything in potatoes.
Which is the amount of potatoes needed to make it from one line from one end to the other, basically 660 feet. And that's a 5-inch potato, to be exact, a 5-inch potato. Google what is an acre and you'll find some very interesting comparisons for
that is so whimsical and cute. Thank you, whoever did that legwork.
Yes, thank you. So yes, over the years, the family would become well established in their peaceful community. However, one day in 1817, John Bell, as he was inspecting his cornfield, encountered a strange-looking animal sitting in the middle of one of the corn rows. Shocked by the appearance of this animal, which had the body of a dog and the head of a rabbit, Bell shot several times at the animal, and the animal vanished. John's son, Drew Bell, approached an unknown bird perched on a fence that flew off and, as he said, was of extraordinary size. Additionally, John's daughter, Elizabeth Betsy Bell, observed a girl in a green dress swinging from the limb of an oak tree. Dean, an enslaved person by the Bell family, reported being followed by a large black two-headed dog.
Okay. This is not the rabbit with the dog's body. This is a
different entity.
Okay.
Yes. And I will note that the official websites for the Bell Witch and the Bell Cave don't mention that Dean is an enslaved person. I did find that on Wikipedia. So, just putting out there. They own slaves. So. Then, late one night, they started hearing knocking sounds on the doors and the outer walls of the house. Not long after, sounds began being heard inside the house. The children began complaining of sounds of something like a rat gnawing on their bedposts, chains being dragged through the house, and the sound of stones being dropped on the wooden floors. Additionally, they heard gulping and choking sounds. The family was reasonably terrified, but without any plausible explanations and fearing the social derision that would come of telling others this story, they kept the problem to themselves. John allegedly swearing the family to secrecy for over a year. But when things began to reach a tipping point, perhaps because of the increasingly violent attacks on his daughter, Betsy, who was often slapped, pinched, and felt that she was being stuck with pins, John finally confided in a neighbor, James Johnson, or Johnston. I've heard it both ways. He invited Mr. Johnson to spend the night at the house. And after several nights of witnessing these strange things, Mr. Johnson suggested that they were dealing with an evil spirit, one like those referenced in the Bible. He suggested a committee be formed and an investigation started.
Okay.
You have questions, I see.
Um, James Johnson stayed over and sensed the entities as well.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're starting a committee.
Yeah. I only saw that on one source, so I don't really know what like a committee means. I think what it boils down to is he was like, you need professional help, or you need, more than just me, your neighbor, coming in
Okay.
and trying to figure out what this is, because clearly there's something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to find some elders. I think it's a demon from the Bible, so maybe some church elders.
Right. Okay.
The Bells were involved in their local church. I think John Bell was a deacon. So I believe that's what it's kind of alluding to. It's like, let's bring in some church people, the pastor, maybe, some city official, county official, to kind of figure out what it is that's actually going on your property.
Okay.
Yeah.
But everybody's experiencing it. The kids, him, the enslaved person is
Yeah. We'll get a little bit into who's experiencing what, but everyone in the house is affected for sure.
Okay.
All the household members are affected to some degree. I will say I didn't find much more about Dean in my research. Again, the few websites I looked up, Wikipedia was the only one that even mentioned them owning a Black person. So there was another website that did mention Dean, but it was like you had to search for him.
Right.
It wasn't like just in the story. It was like people involved, and then you found like Dean's name. Right. It's like you had to do a few clicks. It wasn't on the main site or in the main story, right? Yeah. So,
Hmm. Feels
Anyway.
like we've reached that racism corner.
Boosed Racism Corner. Yeah. So after Mr. Johnson's stay at the Bell House, word quickly began to spread around the town about the spirit inhabiting the Bell home. And it was not long before people were coming from miles around to hear and witness this unseen force. It was perhaps this increase in activity, the extra attention, the presence of so much energy that allowed the spirit to begin to speak. When asked who and what it was, It gave several different identities. However, the one that stuck was that of the spirit of a neighbor woman named Kate Batts, a witch. And this is what many people believed to be the truth. And from then on, this unseen force was called Kate, the Bell's Witch.
And she was a neighbor?
It's said that she was a neighbor. As far as I understand, there is no hard evidence of a Kate Batts existing.
Okay.
There was one version of the story that said this was someone who John Bell had some sort of conflict with back in North Carolina before he moved to Tennessee, allegedly maybe killed her or was a part of her death. That's one story. The other story is that because he came to Tennessee and acquired so much land over the time he was living there, that this is someone whose land he acquired by not so honest means, or maybe through conflict of some sort. And she decided to exact revenge on him because of the fact that he kind of took her land, basically. From what I understand, there is no hard evidence that a Cat Betts or Kate Betts ever existed. However, this is what the spirits has attached itself to, the name it's attached itself to, or the people have assigned to it most prominently, I should say.
Okay. And she is the Bell Witch.
Kate is the Bell Witch.
Okay.
Yeah. With the emergence of full conversations, the spirit repeated word for word sermons that were given 13 miles apart at the same time. The entity seemed to be well acquainted with biblical text and appeared to enjoy having religious arguments. Another amusement was that the witch seemed to love sharing gossip about households in the surrounding area. And it seemed that she could leave her current location and visit those homes, find out about them, and come back and report what she had found. And this could span for miles. One visitor devised a test for the witch, something that they thought no one outside of their own family would know. He asked Kate what his Dutch step-grandmother in North Carolina would say to the enslaved Black people if she thought they did something wrong. The witch replied in his grandmother's accent, "Hut, tut, what has happened now?" In another account, an Englishman stopped to visit and offered to investigate. On remarking on his family overseas, the witch suddenly began to mimic his English parents. And in the early morning, the witch woke him to the voices of his parents, worried as they had heard his voice as well. The Englishman quickly left that morning and later wrote to the Bell family that the entity had visited his family in England and apologizing for his skepticism.
They went all the way to England?
So yeah, the witch was apparently able to travel to this man's home in England, his parents' home, hear what they were saying, learn information about them, and at the same time, communicate that to him in Tennessee. So this man in Tennessee is hearing the voice and this talk of his family in England, and vice versa. They are able to hear him while in England. And she communicates this, and he, of course, freaks out and flees home. And it was like, I'm so sorry that I ever doubted her power.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she did this on the large scale. That's like the largest scale I've heard or I saw reported. Really, it would be more like within, so many miles of the town,
Mm.
from household to household. She'll be like, "Oh, you're here, but I hear back at your house such and such happened. Oh, and these people are talking about this right now, all about you, since you're not there." Like she was just like the town gossip and
She
being
just
like,
like the hot
"Oh,
goss.
who doesn't? Who doesn't?" She seems like my kind of person. Like I just want to know what's happening. That's all. I just
Yeah,
want to know the gossip. I want to know the
sure,
tea. I just want
sure.
I love a good cup of tea. Extra hot. Tell me what's up. I just want to know. That's all.
Wow. I've never. It's funny. I've never heard of a witch doing this. In any like.
Well, I think we're dealing with like a weird entity in that she's considered a witch at the same time she's clearly a spirit.
Right.
She's some sort of poltergeist or spirit. May or may not have been a witch in
And
her life.
they can see her physical form.
I don't see that they ever see her. They hear her.
Okay.
They can hear and feel her.
Okay. I was gonna ask how they were deciphered that she was a woman and
I mean, really just based on her own confirmation.
okay.
Apparently, this is one of the personalities that she presented or
Okay.
explanations that she presented as to who she was. And this is the one that stuck, was the personality or the entity of Kate.
Okay.
Kate Batts. So, yeah.
Okay.
So it seemed that Kate had only two main reasons for visiting the Bell home. One was to stop John's youngest daughter, Elizabeth Betsy Bell, from marrying a young man named Joshua Gardner. And the second was to kill John Bell.
Okay. So first she's gonna stop the marriage between his
Mhm.
daughter and you said a servant?
No, just some guy.
Some guy.
Some guy.
And then she's gonna kill John Bell.
Yeah. It's like that. Have you ever watched the IT Crowd?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen any episodes.
Oh, it is so good. You have to watch it. But there's a scene where he's like, I'm only here to drink milk and kick ass, and I'm all out of milk. Like that's the kind of vibe. It's like I'm only here to do two things:
Right.
stop you from marrying this dude
Yeah.
and kill your dad. That's it.
But one of them seems so earnest. And then the other is like
one seems very innocuous. The one is very much direct and fatal, very fatal.
yeah.
Straight up kill you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. Please continue.
Betsy Bell, or Elizabeth Bell, had become interested in Joshua Gardner, a young man who lived nearby. With the blessing of their parents, they decided to get married. Everyone seemed happy about the arrangement. Everyone, that is, but the mysterious entity of Kate, the Bell Witch. She became furious and repeatedly ordered Betsy not to marry Joshua. Over the next 3 years, Kate tormented the members of the Bell family almost daily. John and his daughter and Betsy were the ones who received the worst of the physical abuse. Kate seemed, however, to like the other family members, even stating that the matriarch Lucy was the greatest woman on the planet. Betsy continued to be harassed with hair pulling, scratching, and the feeling of being pricked with pins. Things even escalated into physical beatings. While John Bell began suffering from spells of paralysis of his mouth, swelling of the throat, and often had the feeling of a stick being struck sideways or being stuck sideways in his throat. Then came the twitching and the jerking of his facial muscles. Kate would blast him with curses and hideous threats. And by the fall of 1820, his declining health had confined him to his home, where the malicious entity continuously removed his shoes when he tried to walk and slapped his face when he recovered from his seizures. Her shrill voice was heard all over the farm, cursing and chastising old Jack Bell, which is a nickname she had given him.
So I'm gonna save my questions for the end, but
okay.
Wow.
Kate finally accomplished her mission for coming to the Bell farm. On December 20th, 1820, John Bell had died. It was believed that he was poisoned by Kate, and Kate took full credit for his death. Immediately after his death, his family found a vial of a strange black liquid in the cupboard. John Jr. sprinkled a couple of drops onto a cat's tongue. The cat allegedly jumped into the air, rolled over in midair, and was dead by the time it hit the floor. Your face right now. The entity exclaimed, "I gave old Jack a big dose of that last night, which fixed him." John Jr. reportedly tossed the mysterious vial into the fireplace. There it burst into a bright blue flame and shot up the chimney. Then, in March of 1821, Betsy broke off her engagement with Joshua Gardner. As you do.
Yes, she did.
Kate, the quote unquote witch of the Bell home, seemingly satisfied with her work, told the family that she would depart, but that she would return in 7 years, in 1828. And she did return, this time to Lucy, the wife of John Bell, and her sons, Richard and Joel. And when she returned, she resumed some of the similar activities as she had before. But this time they chose not to encourage her. And the witch seemed to just quietly leave again. It is said, however, that during this time, she did visit the home of John Bell Jr., now in a home of his own and married. And with him, she had long talks about the past, present, and the future, even making some predictions for the future, most notably about the Civil War. Kate also said there was a reason for John Bell's death. However, she never expounded on what that reason was. After the second visit, she said her next return would be in 107 years, which would be around 1935. However, some believe that Kate has never left the area because of the strange things that seem to continue to occur around the town of Adams and what is known as the Bell Witch Cave over many years. Some of these occurrences include the faint sounds of people talking, the sounds of children playing, And it seems not uncommon to see, quote, candle lights dance through the dark fields late at night. Like many hauntings, photography is especially difficult. Some pictures show orbs of light, strange mists, or other phenomenon, including human-like figures who were not present when the pictures were taken. The fact is that we will never know what actually happened to the Bell family over 200 years ago, nor why certain hauntings or phenomenon seem to continue to persist in the Adams area. However, most researchers agree that something did happen back in the Red River in the early 1800s that led to the Bell Witch legend as we know it today. In a manuscript attributed to John Bell's son, Richard Williams Bell, he wrote, quote, whether it was witchery such as afflicted people in past centuries and darker ages, whether some gifted fiend of hellish nature practicing sorcery for selfish enjoyment, or some more modern science akin to that of mesmerism, or some hobgoblin native to the wilds of the country, or a disembodied soul shut out from heaven, or an evil spirit like those of Paul, drove out of the man into the swine, settling them mad, or a demon let loose from hell. I am unable to decide, nor has anyone yet divined its nature or cause for appearing. And I trust this description of the monster in all forms and shape and of many tongues will lead experts who may come with a wiser generation to a correct conclusion and satisfactory explanation. And that is the story of the Bell Witch of Adams, Tennessee. Questions, comments, concerns, please call 1-800 and get boosed.
Why the cat though? Like just as an example?
There's always a cat when there's a witch involved, isn't there?
I mean, yeah, but dang, do we have to give the cat the poison?
What else are you going to test it on?
Guess that's true.
I mean, I would have preferred them tested on a pig, but whatever.
So there's no explanation. Here you go. There's no explanation of why she killed John Bell or why she didn't want his daughter to marry Joshua Gardner.
Yeah, none. As far as I saw in the websites I visited, Josh Gardner seemed to be just a regular dude. He went on to have a successful farming career, I guess is what you call it. He had a farm, he had a family later on. He didn't seem to be, at least outwardly, any kind of jerk and or asshole. Betsy did marry another man who at one point, I think it said had been her teacher. So there was like a bit of an age gap, maybe 10 to 15 years of an age gap between them. And that website posited that particular man had some knowledge of witchcraft, perhaps. So that seems to allude to a theory that maybe he made all of these things happen in order for him to get the hand of Betsy instead. They didn't make that direct correlation.
I like that correlation.
I mean, it did mention that he possibly, this guy who had been her teacher that she ended up marrying, might have had some knowledge of the occult. And to me, that seems to allude to the fact that he might have been able to play a hand in creating this atmosphere of horror or distrust.
Wow.
Because I mean, it got to the point that Betsy clearly felt that, marrying Gardner was a bad idea. Like this,
You cannot marry this
you
man.
cannot marry this man.
That's on the agenda. Not
Specifically.
only, and what if John Bell had a problem with this guy?
Maybe, I mean, it's according to the websites, it said that their families were both cool with it. He was the son of a prominent farm. He was going to be a farmer,
No,
apparently.
not, I'm saying like had a problem with the next guy.
Probably, maybe.
What just happened?
Sorry, my glasses flew off.
They did.
By my own hand. It wasn't the Bell Witch. So
no, because the Bell Witch might be
I was trying to.
The gossip girl is actually Dan.
You know you love me. XOXO. Gossip Girl.
Yeah, I guess it's possible that John Bell secretly had a problem with this guy, with the teacher.
Yeah, because I mean,
and didn't want his daughter marrying him.
No, marry this guy who's going to be a farmer. And
right.
Be
add
successful.
To our land. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
The other theory, I think I mentioned, being that it's kind of a flimsy theory, being that John Bell had at one point screwed over someone in a land deal, because he did acquire quite a bit of land. So he maybe screwed someone over in a land deal, that being a Kate Batts. And she, I guess at some point, was a witch and or died and came back to exact her revenge.
Right.
There was a brief mention in one of the articles I read of the spirit telling the family that they were the spirits of indigenous native people who had been buried on the land that they owned, coming to, haunt them or exact some sort of revenge. I mean, that could be, very based in kind of a anti-native rhetoric or racist rhetoric. So,
right.
It was said in that article that the sons of John Bell went out, tried to find the burial ground, and it was basically just a wild goose chase in the end. So there's no solid theory on why John Bell would be the target of anything, or why Josh Gardner would be seen as an unworthy suitor for Betsy. The only thing being that this teacher, the professor who she did end up marrying, may or may not have had some knowledge of the occult. And may or may not have been able to exact some sort of force upon the family. But that's a very thin theory.
But is it thin?
I mean, I only saw it presented on one site. So, it's kind of, someone might have mentioned it. Again, these are, as far as I know, these are all real people.
Right.
There are records of these people existing. And, the events surrounding their existence in this community, though, are what's in question.
Okay.
But that area of Adams, what is now Adams, Tennessee, this is part of their community lore.
That's what I was going to ask. Exactly what's the context of them teaching this in school? Is this just Tennessee history?
Yeah, basically. It's like, this is what happened in Adams, Tennessee. We have the Bell Witch. It's a tourist site, of course. I know you're ready to protest at any given moment. There's a cave. I don't really know what the cave, I didn't look into what the cave has to do. Apparently there's a Bell Witch cave, and the cave is a big deal. But in all of the articles I read, they don't mention a cave. And I did these notes today, so I didn't take extra time to understand what the cave meant. So So it seems like the cave plays into it some other way. I don't know if it's maybe near the site of the original home or if they feel like someone found something there. I didn't look it up, quite honestly. I'm just gonna be real honest. I didn't look it up. So
The only thing that's throwing me from the professor setting all this up so he could win in the end, which he did, is the going all the way to London to haunt the other guy. Now that part probably can never be explained.
Right. I mean, if though you have the ability to summon a demon or spirit that then has those powers, that is something you don't have to necessarily explain. The demon or spirit just has those powers. That's just what they do. So
you're
you don't have to have the power to do that, as long as the entity,
you're involved in the occult, and then
right,
channeling the entity, which can then assert the power,
right.
all the way in London.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's firming up a bit for me. So when you say that there is a site, is it like the original house, or like just like?
From what I saw, I honestly don't know from what I saw. Sorry, all the alcohol just like hit me at once. It's now bedtime. From what I saw, it was like a big red barn that's at again, I don't know, and I don't understand what a cave has to do with anything. I'm assuming it's on the same land. Maybe I should look it up. So if you go there, you'll find a replica of a cabin that the Bell family allegedly lived in. It has some kind of historical, quote unquote, historical type of artifacts in there. The cave, it's on the historical registry by the U.S. Department of the Interior. It was property basically just property once owned by John Bell. And it's just part of the property, as far as I can tell. There's really no significance to the cave itself. But you can take a tour of it for $12. For $12.
This feels like it was attached to this story last minute.
It's like a cave, kind of like what you would feel in a low rent Natural Bridge Caverns in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a low rent cave tour from any like natural stone cave you would find in your local city and or state.
Right.
Again, in no other story did I see any reference to a cave or a significance of a cave.
Okay.
It's just this one site, and it's there on site of the property. I mean, when you have 320 something acres, you can assume there's going to be like a well or a cave or a forest of some sort. I mean, that's a lot of freaking land.
Right.
You're going to have something weird on your land.
Okay.
It's a cave. It might just be the size of a basement. Who knows? It really doesn't look that impressive from the pictures on this website.
Okay.
I don't see any significance to the cave itself.
I'm choosing to go with the professor did all of this story. Because without any record of anything else, of even like why she would have been doing this to this man, like maybe he cheated somebody. Like I'm sure there was a lot of like, we've talked about like those crazy land deals that you know, where you're getting all of this and probably screwing, you know,
the native
natives
people.
and out of what's rightfully theirs. So
Right.
maybe that too is very plausible. But it's Valentine's Day. So I like the thought of him going that far as to just like setting up booby traps. And I don't know why he would have poisoned the cat. That was rude. No, yeah, maybe it was a Badland deal, you know.
It could be.
But why no like explanation and she's taken this name and this form? Also no explanation to the animals involved, the two-headed dog and the rabbit.
I mean,
and
yeah, the only thing I can think of is like a black dog, just mythology wise, is often associated with death.
okay.
Like a black dog is a regular symbol of, I mean, you see it in anything from Harry Potter to just general mythology.
Yeah.
It's a metaphor, it's a symbol of bad juju, bad shit's happening. You're
Okay.
gonna see a black dog right before you die in the spirit world or guarding the gates of hell. I don't know. So a black dog comes up again and again in multiple stories. So seeing a black dog in this context isn't that surprising to me. Now, two-headed is a little
Yeah.
weird. There was a story on one website where it said that Dean, the enslaved person who saw the black dog or reported seeing the black dog,
Mhm.
who was two-headed, had at one point hit a dog in the head with an axe, making it appear to be two-headed almost, which seemed like a really weird story to me.
Hmm.
And I didn't really understand. Like, I think the dog tried to attack him and he hit it with an axe because he was really skilled with an axe and he caused an injury but didn't kill the dog. But then the dog was then said to have two heads after that, I guess, because of the way this axe injury split the dog's head.
Yeah.
But I just know in general, black dogs are associated with the paranormal a lot.
Okay.
Now, a black dog with a rabbit's head, I have no idea. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. Now, when he was poisoned, um, she appears, and then that's how when that happened to the cat. Who were the who was she talking to when she said like she gave him a big dose of it?
I mean, she was just talking to the family. She was like, "Yeah, I did that. That was me. That poison, that killed your daddy. That was me. I did that." Whoop,
um,
whoop. And then it was said, there was another story that said that at the funeral, she kept singing like shanty songs, like obnoxiously, like just singing sailor and drunken shanty bar songs.
Soon may the wellerman come to bring us sugar and tea and rum. One day when the tonguing is done, we'll take our leave and go.
okay.
I mean, like for some reason, she hated this man, John Bell.
And then also just refused to let the daughter marry the other guy.
Yeah, just, and I mean, again, there didn't seem to be anything wrong with the guy the daughter wanted to marry. She just didn't want to marry him. She was like, nope, not him.
And she was gonna do it all the way up until the point where her dad actually died.
Pretty much. Like it was at some point she was just like, she was being tormented and
Yeah.
the spirit kept saying, don't marry him, don't marry him. And I think it got to the point where she was just like, I'm done of being tortured over this. So whether because of her own suffering and or the suffering of her father, she was just like, no, I can't. I think it just so happens that it happened after her father died, where she was just like, no, nothing. And again, this is timelines provided by the internet. I don't know if those are exact
Right.
timelines
Of course.
of events. So, but yeah, she was just kind of like, yeah, we can't find any peace. And one of the things that I can't find peace over is marrying you. So, bye.
Poor Joshua. But he bounced back.
He seemed to do fine in the end. He got
Yeah.
married. He had a few kids. He had a successful
Yeah.
farm of his
He's
own.
good. He's good.
He died when he was like 80 something. I think he was fine.
Perfect.
Yeah. I mean,
Dodged a bullet.
even she didn't die. I think I'm told it says she was like 88, 87 is when she died herself. She had some other tragedies in her life, like the man she ended up marrying ended up having like a stroke or something. He ended up becoming like incapacitated severely, physically and mentally. I think he had a stroke. And then I think one of their children had died at an early age. So they had some tragedy in their family, which, I mean, it was like the 1800s, early 1900s. That's par for the course, right?
Right.
But other than that, she seemed to live a fairly peaceful, normal life after that and lived into her 80s.
Well. And then, okay, so I'm going to come back in 7 years. I came back 7 years later. It's the 30s. And who is she tormenting at this point? She's trying to torment them, but they ignored her.
Yeah, she just went back to like Lucy, the husband in the 1830s. She went back to the husband or the wife, the widow of John Bell. And the family was basically just kind of, or 1928 it was. And they were basically just kind of like, meh,
Yeah.
whatever.
We already met you.
We already know what's up. Yeah. And then she went to John Bell Jr., John Bell's son. And apparently he had some conversations with her. He entertained her at least a little bit, in which she told him things of the future, past and present, some predictions, just kind of oracle type shit.
Right.
And that seemed to be it. And then she told them that she would be back in 107 years, which would put her around, I think, the 1930s, 1930s, early 1940s.
Oh, okay, right.
And nothing seemed to happen then, but the descendants of John Bell, who were still alive at that time, like I think John Bell Jr.'s son wrote some sort of like essay or book or some sort of missive of some sort about his family's history. Nothing of significance seemed to happen in the 1938, 1940 period, but it was his ancestor, John Bell's ancestor, grandson or whatever, published this writing, and then that seems to be about it. But the area itself has since then and up to this point has seemed to have experienced weird occurrences associated with a haunting of some sort.
Okay. This
So
one is
it doesn't seem like, the Bell Witch was ever really violent again.
just gossipy and messy.
She just loved mess. She loved the tea. She loved a good cup of tea. She just wanted to tell you the past. But for some reason, she hated John Bell. That seemed to be her main goal, was just like, this dude needs to suffer and die. And maybe she thought Joshua was a bad person, Joshua Gardner, Betsy's fiance.
Yeah.
Maybe she was just like, girl, he ain't the one.
Yeah.
Sometimes your angels just be telling you in your ear, you be like, this ain't the one. You should listen to me. This ain't the one. Sometimes they have to kill your dad for you to understand that. But she was like, okay, I guess you ain't the one. But also her life didn't seem to be that great afterwards. So I don't know. Like, it was fine. Her life was fine. Her husband became severely disabled at some point, and one or two of her children died fairly young. But other than that, I mean, she lived into her 80s, so I don't know how bad that was or not.
No, I mean, it seems like the only person that really got it bad was John Bell.
Yeah.
And that was, that was her mission anyway. So,
yeah. I mean, I certainly agree. Like, the most compelling argument is that the man Betsy ended up marrying, put some hoodoo on that family, was like,
I
you
mean-
know what? I'm gonna make this happen. In the spirit of Valentine's Day.
I mean, what won't you do for love? You know?
Right. He's like, I know she was my student. I know she's like 10 to 15 years younger than me. However, it is the 1800s.
It
and I can
is
do
the
what I want. It is the 1800s.
I'm a white
and
man.
I'm a white man.
The world is mine.
I can do whatever I want. I'm going to put a curse on this family real quick.
I'm gonna kill their cat.
You are real focused on that poor
I
cat.
just couldn't believe the imagery. I was like picturing it happen in my head. Like it goes up in the air, it rolls over, and then it's dead before it hits the ground.
Rip Fluffy. R.I.P. Fluffy. Sorry for you.
Jeez.
I mean, it's better than them trying it on like one of the other children, right?
Yes.
I would have preferred they tried it on one of the pigs on the farm.
Why don't we
but
just throw it
whatever.
in the fireplace and then let it do the blue light beam, and then we all realize, okay, it's magic.
True. True. Yeah, I guess. I mean, but you wouldn't have a reason to throw it into the fireplace if you didn't know it killed your cat.
Okay.
Like if you just find a vial of something you don't necessarily recognize, you're going to try it out. Like maybe smell it.
Don't try anything in a
Well,
vial.
not try it out. Like you're going to smell it, maybe put it on a piece of paper.
I'll smell it.
See if it like burns through the countertop like acidity. You might put it in a plant. You're going to test it on something.
Okay.
And then when you realize it kills something, you're going to destroy it by throwing it in the fire. So
Right.
that's I see what he did. I see why he took
Sure.
that path
Sure.
of discovery.
Okay. But this is a tricky story. I can't correct this one. I'm not taking that tour. I'm
You're
sorry,
picketing out front.
I'm sorry, Tennessee. We're gonna have to stop by. Okay.
I don't know how far I am from Adams, but I'm not that far from Tennessee anymore.
You're not.
So if it's like a day's drive, I might let's see, Adams, Tennessee is how far from here? Let's Google Maps this real quick.
Google Maps it.
Google Maps, my location is here. It's only 4 hours. That's like from Dallas to San
Not too
Antonio.
bad. That's
4.5 hours. That's literally Dallas to San Antonio.
Yeah.
So I could totally take a trip to Adams, Tennessee. Go see
Go take some pictures for us.
yeah,
A little live stream.
bring home a witch.
She went all the way to London. I mean, she's probably got no problem going to Atlanta.
No problem at all. No problem going to Tennessee. I'll stop at my friend's house on the way in Chattanooga. It'll be great. She'll probably come with me. She'll love it. She needs an adventure. She's a mom. She needs to get out of the house.
Yeah, this one is tough. And I think it's either that John Bell was up to some shifty things. I mean, even for the 1800s, 300 plus football fields feels like too much land for
That's
anybody.
a lot. That's like more. You don't need that much land. No one needs that much land unless you're literally planning a town.
Yeah. Either that, or if he had, the professor had something with the occult,
Mm.
and it was just he was waiting around. He was waiting. He was buying his time.
You know, we were talking about that earlier. Just he was in the friend zone, and he desperately got out of that friend zone.
What you gotta
worked-
do?
he
Don't
worked
write
his
a
angles.
letter. Letter? No. Poison the
send-
cat.
Don't
And-
send gifts. Don't
No.
write letters.
Mm-mm.
Don't just, hang out and be her shoulder to
No.
cry on. What you need to do is invoke the spirit of a demon and or witch
Poison
kill-
her
to
dad.
kill her father.
Hello.
Duh.
Love. Easy.
Have the spirit repeatedly tell her that she should not marry anyone other than
Don't
you.
marry that guy. He's
Don't marry that guy.
lame.
I'm the only one for you. That's how you get a girl. It's 2021. Step up your game. That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
because the professor got it done.
Listen, if a person at this point does not possess my mom's home with the spirit convincing her that I should marry
See,
someone
okay,
of their
that-
choosing, I don't want it. I don't. Is it real love? Is it?
Yeah, this is a tough one to crack, but I'm gonna go with either the guy set everybody up to get the student,
Mhm.
the daughter, or this is just the messiest of messy witches in Tennessee. Of which I'm sure there are a lot.
That's a
Both
group I want to.
living and
That-
dead.
That's a group I want to see on Clubhouse. Messy Witches of Tennessee.
Boom. Well,
But yeah.
thank you for telling us,
Yes, absolutely.
for spilling the tea on messy witches from 100 years ago.
You're very welcome. You are very welcome. And if any of you would like to send us stories of messy witches in your life, you can do so at boostpod@gmail.com or find us on social media at boostpod. We are on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and Twitter. And Sydney, where can the people find you on the internets if they want to join your Ghost Advocacy League?
You want to join
Your
the,
ghost rights?
ghosts or abolitionists? You can find me again at Sid in play, SYD _ the letter N _ play, PLAY, on Instagram and Twitter. That is where you can find me on social media. Camille, where can they
Yes.
find you?
You can find me at the Camille Monae. I did finally get my TikTok back. If you saw me post on Instagram, so you can find me on TikTok. There's nothing on TikTok though, so I suggest you follow the podcast on TikTok instead, which is at Boosed Pod. Otherwise, yeah, Instagram, Facebook, which I barely use anymore, Twitter, all at the Camille Monae. And you can find the podcast at Boosed Pod on all social media. And yeah, share, like, subscribe, leave us a review. And if you would like to support the podcast, you can do so with a one-time donation via Venmo and or by emailing us for our PayPal information. Or you can join Patreon. The lowest tier is at $2 per month. You get some extra video content, extra photos. You get to vote on future episodes. And at certain levels, you also get special merchandise exclusive just for Patreon members. So that's it. Anything else you'd like to add at this time, dear Sydney?
I hope everyone had a happy Valentine's Day this past week and that everybody is hanging in there, wearing your 2 masks, and yeah, staying safe, taking care of you.
Yes, of course. Thank you, dear listener, for joining us once again. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Wear 2 goddamn masks.
Please.
And we will see you next time here on Boosed Podcast. And don't forget,
Get boosed.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Boosed. Our theme was composed by Vincent Parish. Sound production is done by Sydnee Johnson. You can find us on social media at Boosed Pod. That's BOOSED Pod. If you would like to support the show, please go to patreon.com/boostpod to make a contribution. Thank you for listening. And don't forget, get boozed.